Let's talk about crystal structures today. Why does structure matter? Why start there? Let's answer all the fundamental questions first. Why should we know the structure in the first place? Take graphene, hexagonal boron nitride, and diamond. They're all made from light elements and have strong atomic bonds. At first glance, they seem related. But dig a little deeper. They each have a different crystal structure, a different space group, and completely different properties and uses. We can't just guess that by looking. Graphene, for example, is a single layer of carbon atoms. It's ultra-thin, flexible, and incredibly conductive. That's why it's being explored for faster electronics. The actual unit cell contains 2 carbon atoms. HBN has a similar honeycomb structure, but with boron and nitrogen. It's an excellent insulator and used in 2D materials for quantum devices. It is popularly known as the white graphene because of its structural similarity to graphene. And diamond, same carbon as graphene, but a 3D tetrahedral structure. It's one of the hardest materials on Earth, perfect for cutting tools and high-performance optics. So structure isn't just a detail, it's what defines how a material behaves. What are these groups we're talking about? They help us classify crystal structures and predict how they'll behave in the real world. In 2D, we have 10-point groups. A point group is a set of symmetry operations that leave at least one point fixed. We have 17 plane groups. These are the full set of ways a 2D pattern has symmetry. In 3D, things expand. An additional space group defines all the symmetry operations that can be applied to a crystal lattice while keeping it invariant. We get 32 point groups and 230 space groups. We'll come back to these groups very soon. Before that, there's something more basic we need to understand. Lattices and unit cells. Let's start there. Imagine a smooth sheet of cookie dough laid out on a table. Now picture yourself pressing a cookie cutter into the dough, carefully, in a neat and regular grid. The positions where we place the cutter form a repeating pattern. That's our lattice. It's simply a set of evenly spaced points in space. It doesn't describe the shape of the cookies, only where to place them. Now think about the shape of the cutter itself. Maybe it's a star, a heart, or even a pair of connected shapes. That's your motif. It defines what shape or group of shapes we'll use. When we place that motif at every point on the lattice, it becomes the basis, the repeated content at each position. When we apply that shape across the entire dough, following the same grid, we get a regular, repeating pattern, a perfect analogy for a crystal structure. So here's the key idea. The lattice gives the structure its order, its periodicity in space. The basis gives it substance, what atoms or motifs are placed at each point. We've introduced a new term here, motif. So, what exactly is this? It is simply the shape or group of shapes you plan to place on each point of the lattice. It could be a star, a teddy bear, or even a polar bear. By now, you should have a clear sense of the difference. Once you place the motif on every lattice point, it becomes the basis. Makes sense, right? Let's say we're using not just one cookie cutter, but 2, a polar bear and a star. This combination is your motif, the shape we want to place on each point. And this is exactly what happens in many real crystals. In the atomic world, the polar bear might represent one type of atom, and the star represents another. Placed together and positioned at every lattice point, they form a basis with 2 atoms. In simple terms, a lattice is just a pattern. It's all about geometry plus repetition, where the positions are evenly arranged. There's nothing on it yet, just an invisible grid telling us where to place things. Now, the motif is the shape or group of shapes we want to place. When we place that motif on each point of the lattice, it becomes the basis. And when we see all together, a complete, repeating design is formed. Those blue squares help highlight what's called a unit cell. It's like the smallest tile we can use to repeat and recreate the entire tray. So, one cookie shape plus one grid plus repetition equals crystal. What is a unit cell? It captures the entire symmetry and structure of the crystal in the smallest possible block. Now, imagine each hexagon isn't just a shape. It's actually representing a 2D structure. They've filled space through perfect repetition. What we're left with is the understanding that this single hexagon shape, repeated again and again, can generate the entire pattern. It holds all the information we need. the geometry of the lattice, and the contents. So now we know, a crystal is built by repeating a motif across a lattice. But that brings up some interesting questions. Are all lattices shaped the same way? Can the spacing or angles between the points vary and still give us a valid crystal? And how many different types of lattices are even possible in 2 or 3 dimensions? In the next video, we'll explore the different kinds of lattices that crystallography allows, starting with the fundamental ones called the Bravais lattices. Thank you for watching.